first question that kind of I wanted to pose to our panel is, what's the approach you're taking? Like, how are you currently thinking about where you're getting your inspiration, and how are you keeping things fresh on an ongoing basis? Phil?
Yeah, so this is kind of an interesting topic for myself because historically, when I've worked with kind of traditional, non-digital marketing folks, I would always come to the plate with ideas driven by the technology stack that we had, and I was kind of told the opposite, like, don't let tech drive your marketing, creativity, and inspiration. But honestly, that's exactly what we do at the Books right now. And so, TJ actually took a lot of the content that I was going to present because we use Castora as well. So we use Castora for a lot of our ideas around different segmentation strategies. And another big partner that I'll call out is Movable Ink. They're a contextual, kind of dynamic content creative email partner, and we've gotten tons of inspiration and new ideas with those guys. And in the floral industry, we kind of divide up our business between our peak seasons and non-peak seasons. And so peak seasons are Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, and we kind of call those our Super Bowl moments because they comprise about 60 to 70% of our yearly revenue. And we really did a lot with Movable Ink during the past 2 holidays. We did some fun things, like we had live polls when we launched new collections, so users could kind of see the new flowers that we were launching with each season, and they could see real time which ones customers were voting on, were their favorites, and then we would use that for retargeting purposes. We put in an add to calendar type function, and kind of my general point is we often let technology that we have access to really drive our creative inspiration.
What are some examples you've seen, Matt, kind of people getting inspiration for fresh content?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in creating customer celebrations and like pushing past just the typical Valentine's holiday and trying to make it something different or make it something specific to your brand. That's the kind of thing I love the most. Is a shoe delivery company I won't name, but they do a really good job of segmenting their customers, understanding the purchase cycle, and based on that, they celebrate the different milestones with their shoes. So if someone's a marathon runner and they're ordering new shoes every month or every 2 months, they kind of know like that person's obviously an avid runner, so celebrate the milestones throughout the year when they're probably doing big races. So I think identifying what milestones your customers have and celebrating those and breaking yourself out of the traditional event cycle is pretty important.
A lot of the events both of you have talked about have been kind of, I would say, kind of evergreen. So somebody is a marathon runner or it's Valentine's Day. Are you guys thinking about content based on events which are happening kind of in the physical world? Like, I saw an interesting campaign that Nike did a couple of months ago during the Olympics where somebody won a gold medal, and then that very day they were sending out a campaign saying something. Or in England, after England were knocked out of the World Cup, a lot of companies were sending things, like, oh, we're going to be sad, England was knocked out, have some ice cream and feel better about yourself, or something that sort of. Has that played into your email content strategy at all?
It's definitely something we need to do a better job at, but there have been a couple of recent events that are, really straightforward in the floral industry. There was a Red Rose Day that I believe was the second week of May, so we did a whole Double the Blooms is our highest performing promotion. You buy a flower at an original size, but then you get a deluxe size, so it's kind of double the amount of flowers for the original size. And then yesterday we launched a Friendships Day type promotions because and so we had a similar type of campaign around that. But having said that, we do try to partner with certain causes to try to kind of get out of the straight like sale, discount heavy types of promotions, but it is definitely an area of opportunity for us though.
I think that kind of brings us nicely to our next point, which is promotional emails. And I think that promotional emails, we're talking here about how do you foster loyalty and revenue, and I think that everybody in this room is probably aware that giving people discounts maybe works or doesn't work, and that's what we need to talk about. But it's kind of like a cheap fix, right? And it's a cheap fix which is actually really, really expensive for a brand. And I think that what we've seen with a lot of brands is that once you condition your customers to be used to pricing with a discount, it's very difficult to wean them off it, right? So how are you guys thinking about content which perhaps does encourage driving loyalty while not necessarily just being by cutting your own margin? Yeah, Matt, any ideas?
Yeah, I think what we see our customers being really successful with there is just when they build out their segments and know more about their customer, using that data in the emails and using that to build a better experience than just dropping in a discount. So acknowledging customer loyalty, acknowledging where they're at in overall buying cycle and frequency, anything else, anything you can use to change that content, that message to make it more than just, hey, here's 10% off. That's what we see people being successful with. And I think creating branding around your segments is super valuable, and you can then use that same branding and messaging across all the different touch points, all the different emails you're sending. That I think helps get away from this is just a discount towards this is a relationship.
Phil, what have you guys done?
Yeah, I mean, this theme has already been voiced by others, but yeah, life cycle types of messaging are definitely, a lot better, high performing. I think to give you a concrete example with us, again, we use Castora, like Kenneth Cole. The big thing in our space is trying to personalize recipients that gifters send flowers to. So we recently ran a few tests, and the biggest cohorts that we have are people that buy for wives, mothers, and friends in general. And so one thing that we tested and saw big results was with wives. So, I think what it kind of speaks to is we have tons of people that are buying flowers for their wives during Valentine's Day, and then when we get into the non-peak season, we kind of try to continue that type of messaging, where even though we're launching a different collection for a different season, it could be spring or summer, we speak to them as if they should buy the product for their wives like we did during Valentine's Day. So that's definitely a big thing. Another example I'll kind of bring up where, and I know this was one of our topics, or you kind of just mentioned how do you balance loyalty or content types of campaigns versus purely promotional. A big win for us has been at the end of our peak seasons, we've developed these wrap-up type emails where we'll kind of pinpoint, how many farmers we helped out that we had flowers delivered from, the lack of waste that we have within our supply chain. That's something that we like to tout compared to our competitors. We kind of have a unique supply chain that looks after the flowers more. And then just overall, the number of recipients that had these precious moments during our peak periods. It's not a very promotional heavy with discounts type of campaign, but anecdotally we got a lot of great feedback, and we feel as if it's helped us to continue to have high engagement from our customers.
I think that we've seen some brands do interesting stuff around things. So you look at a company like Dollar Shave Club, and they do some great stuff around the content, around sending just really actually engaging content. And I don't say this just because they're a customer, but I do think that a lot of the stuff that they're sending in their emails I actually look forward to reading, which is not something that I can say about a lot of brands, but they'll send ways to take care of your face during the summer or the winter, whatever it is. And I think that that's kind of an interesting one. The other one which I've seen is, especially for a brand like yours, there are a lot of companies which are sending, how do you keep taking care of the product afterwards, right? Keeping that engagement by being an educational part of it. So one of the brands that we work with in the floral space, for example, they send, how to take care of your plants, right? And just keeping some sort of relationship going. And then again, you talked about dynamic emails and kind of rich content inside emails. That's a really interesting one. Asking questions, writing polls, doing all of these things. That really starts building the engagement and helps, I think, consumers see the brand not only as the place where that they've purchased it, but also as kind of the experts, which are perhaps helping them kind of continue the relationship with the product and the brand on an ongoing basis, which I think is kind of interesting.
I think you brought up an interesting point there, following up on like how is the product doing review. A lot of companies will send like, hey, it's been 30 days, please review us. And that's like the right kind of, it's the right time to send, but it's like the wrong message. Like, just be like, how is like, these are the steps to take care of your new shoes or anything else. Like, this is, providing value to the customer on like how you should accomplish this next thing. And like, sure, ask for the review as part of that, or ask for something, but provide value in that as well.
100%. I think that a lot of brands, are starting to optimize and think about when do I ask for reviews, right? Like, and whether after 30 days is really the right time to ask everybody for a review. And it may be that somebody, with a certain set of characteristics, with a certain lifetime value, you should be not asking for a review at this point. Casper's a great example, right? I mean, the right time to ask me for a review about Casper is now. I've been a customer for 4 years. If after 4 years I do still like the brand, and I do, by the way, and they're not a customer, but this is the right time, then that's an awesome time to get a review. And I think that that's something that brands are becoming a lot more intelligent about. Not just how can I drive more reviewers, but how can I make sure that I'm matching between those two. How do you guys think about experimentation? I think we talked about this a little bit already today, but how are you thinking about experimentation in general? How are you measuring your experiments?
Yeah, so typically with the way that we operate within the retention channel, we'll partner with our brand and merch teams and kind of align around what are the big key moments that we want to publicize from a brand perspective, and then from a merch perspective, what's in our tool belt of flowers that we can promote for a particular month and whatnot. And then typically what our team will do is we'll look at, okay, we have Castora, we have all these personas, we have these high price point triggers, we have movable ink, we have all these new types of features and functions, and typically we try to bake in 3 to 4 tests to obtain learnings within each month. And then as far as how we measure, we'll have a true test and holdout group where we'll take the same cohort. So take for instance the wives persona that we've identified through Castora. We'll break that out 50-50, send part of the cohort one treatment, the other treatment, and then ultimately we look at revenue, but then we will also look at pure click-through rates. How many people can we purely get to the site? And then I know this is kind of this track is centered around email, but a big thing we're looking at now too is how can we adjust treatments on site? So once they get to that first touch point on the landing page, how can we kind of mimic the personalized components of the email with the associated landing page? And so that's a big area that we're starting to play with as well, and then looking at different measurements from that perspective to see how that can further take customers down the funnel to purchase.
I really love the statement when you think about experimentation of like, are you changing customer behavior? One of the advantages, we're really lucky to work with some of the largest companies in the world. So for them, just testing an email is enough. Every test is a top to bottom test, and I think that's super important. Like, truly, are you changing how people are buying, or changing something what they're doing? It's important though to look at the at OpenClick as well, like a kind of a micro level. One of my favorite customer stories, not strictly e-commerce, but we put a nonprofit called DonorsChoose.org, and so it's giving to teachers who run school projects. They're a great company. And they had a legacy transactional email they were sending out, I think once a month or so to people. And through a really small test that one of their interns made, they realized that in this transactional email, they were messaging to a particular segment of their customers, and they were using internal language that they used at the company. And this intern, the email didn't make sense to them, so they just changed some of the messaging to be a little bit more donor-friendly. And through that, they saw a huge uptake in engagement. And it doesn't necessarily drive a ton of extra revenue, but what they realized through that one test was that they were all their messaging to a certain segment was completely off. They were using internal language, not language that made sense to the consumer. And they were able to take that back to the overall market team and the product team and completely change how they talked to an entire segment through that. And so one of the importance of testing is not just testing for the open click, but trying out different messaging and seeing if there's if you're off the mark.
I was going to say that's an interesting point because this promotion that I mentioned, this double the blooms promotion, it's funny because with our customers it resonates extremely well. It's our highest performer, but from an acquisition perspective, we'll try to align email with display and social, and with new customers, they had no idea what it was, or the value prop just wasn't resonating. So, I think it just speaks to the importance of testing and thinking about how you have to speak differently to current customers versus prospects.
Absolutely, and I think that's even an interesting evolution we're seeing over the past couple of years. People are understanding that. And I think that the fact that we're all saying like, yeah, testing's good, that's good. And I think that email metrics are important, right? Open rates and click-through rates, they're still important. We want to understand how the actual channel is doing and so on, and then being able to measure and understand how we're actually altering the behavior of the customer is also important. But I think that also being able to close that loop. So understanding, how do you continuously get better? And I think that what sometimes happens to companies is that they're testing, but it's not very easy to implement it. All those learnings aren't necessarily really easy to implement. So creating a system which is able to, that you as a company are able to test something, understand what it means, and quickly iterate on it is something that we've seen which has been incredibly, incredibly powerful. And to your point, just getting more and more segmented sometimes, getting more and more accurate, or through something like Movable, making sure that you're giving the right people the right thing when they open it based on where they are, and so on and so forth. Our next question, which I think we've kind of covered, is how big of a part does segmentation play in content? And I think that we've all kind of covered how big it is, but I think that the follow-up question we discussed, how are you guys thinking about segmentation when it comes to scheduled messaging versus triggered messaging? Is there a difference, or is it kind of more?
So I'll speak to one of the sponsors you guys have listed here, BounceX. We partner heavily with them, and they kind of help us a lot with a lot of our on-site treatments, email capture, and things of that nature. But they actually manage all of our website remarketing types of campaigns, which I would classify into the triggered bucket or event-based is kind of how we also classify those. And I think one of the biggest things is personalization based off of site behaviors. So if I'm on the Book site and I'm looking at a particular red rose, sending a follow-up email where we show you 6 other red rose options, like that's vastly a better performer than just a generic set of our spring collection or something of that nature. And so I think with those types of messages where you want to re-engage with the customer, quickly within an hour to 2 days, surfacing relevant content that they just saw on the site we saw has been extremely impactful. And with scheduled messaging, it's, you may not have as much data to be able to personalize at that level, but we're trying to move towards that direction. Whether it's via the customer personas that we have, or past site behaviors, that's where we're trying to go to kind of mimic what we're doing from a trigger perspective, I'd say.
I guess what Phil said was really great. One thing we see customers be successful with it is trying to just ensure there's consistent acknowledgement of who the customer is or what segment they're in across every touch point. And so with re-engagement email off a website, it's really easy to say, hey, they just viewed a page with red roses, we'll send an email later on with red roses. But with a scheduled email or something else, like you still have a lot of information about the customer. You know that in the past they brought red roses, they're in your website or whatever else, and just ensuring that you're able to call that out in every single touch point. Like even a forgotten password or something else can acknowledge that you love red roses, or that you always buy for your wife, or whatever else the messaging for that segment is. And so just maintaining that consistency across messaging.
Yeah, I think that there was a panel, I think at eTail West, where we talked about transactional emails and what people are doing today in terms of marketing transactional emails. But because transactional emails have such an open rate, right, everybody wants to know where their shipment is and when it's coming and all of that. That's a huge opportunity, again, until it gets abused. But I think that what we've seen is that the mixture between scheduled and triggered, or the ability to use all of the data you know about your customers also on triggered, is very effective. So I'll give you an example of one of the retailers that we worked with. They had a very, very different cart abandon email go out based on what they knew about them, right? So for example, if we knew that somebody was a really high value customer who had abandoned their cart, and it's somebody that we perhaps have been trying to get back, right? They were churned and we were trying to get them back. You finally got them on the website, they're about to check out, and they abandoned their cart. You might want to have a completely different messaging, right? It's not just about the product. You might be willing to give them a promotion, God forbid, right? Or you might be willing to give them that one thing to push them over the edge. And I think that that's the next thing that we're seeing that's going to change. That separation between triggered and scheduled, I think, is going to have to start converging, because again, it's that same customer, and being able to understand what are you saying when it's triggered, what are you saying when it's scheduled, how those talk to each other, how you can use all of the data, I think is really, really important.
I'll add in one more to kind of build on that. So a big focus of ours is getting a larger portion of our customer base to sign up for our subscription products. So we have 2 actually that we offer. We have one that we call regular deliveries. So you can basically sign up and have flowers sent to your mother every week, 2 weeks, month, year, basically at different
Can you send us a code for that?
I have tons of things. And then we have a scheduler product where you can specify specific dates to send flowers to certain friends and family and loved ones. And so to your point about with scheduled emails, I think as opposed to triggered where you just want you want to get them across the finish line and make a purchase, with scheduled with us and that VIP type cohort, we're trying to push them into our subscription-based products because obviously higher LTV and hopefully minimal churn once you can kind of get them into those types of products. So that's something that we're thinking about a lot with what are the scenarios and at what points do we try to surface those types of upsells to those higher value customers.
I think that starting to think about how campaigns impact lifetime value is also a big transition that we're starting to see, not just revenue, not just incremental revenue, but how is this actually impacting the lifetime value? Does giving somebody a discount at a certain point, again, influence their lifetime value, increase it, decrease it? It's really important. Our last question, which is actually my favorite question, is can you guys give us some examples, not from your own brand or not from a brand that you work with, of somebody which is doing something really, really cool in terms of content? Matt?
I love the example of the shoe company identifying marathon runners and sending them not just an email saying, how are your shoes working out, but also like, here's a repurchase email. Like, click a button to order the same shoes again because you order the same shoes on schedule. I'll just call it Wayfair, and Wayfair's order receipt emails. They do an amazing job of like your order's on the way and creating like this really great experience around it. I think the messaging is really great. I think it embodies this idea of like the order receipt email, which you're always going to go back to because you're like, where the heck is my couch and when is it coming? It creates like this experience, like this product experience within the email, and I really love it. So if you haven't seen that email before, go order something from Wayfair.
So I'll keep it on the fitness theme here. I'm a big endurance athlete. I do triathlons and whatnot, and I think I may have seen that shoe campaign that you mentioned. I thought that was very slick. So Strava is a big kind of social networking tracking tool for runners, bikers, swimmers, and they do a really cool thing at the end of each month. They kind of give you a summary of how many miles you rode, you ran, you biked, or you worked out, and then they kind of give you comparisons to the prior month. They give you kind of indicators of how you're trending and whatnot. Fitbit does a similar type of thing, and I believe Garmin may do a similar type of thing as well. But it's, I'm a competitor, so it's kind of cool to see, how I progressed in the current month versus the past month, and definitely one that stood out.
If I could just throw it out, this idea of summary emails are like super valuable. People are generally kind of nerds for, well, I'm a nerd, but a lot of people like this kind of data. And so if any kind of like active subscriber data you can use, this individual to the person or aggregate about how your social impact is working. Like those are super valuable emails different companies can send. And it has to be tailored to your customer and the segment and everything else. But like not many people send these, but they're really amazing. They're super common in the SaaS subscription world, but that doesn't mean they can't translate over to e-com.
I think that the summaries have been great. Like for me, there's two brands which really jump out. Well, two emails from brands. One is Delta, which have done the same kind of idea. We're like, you sat in the aisle 97,000 times in the last year. You've traveled more than X miles. And it kind of made me feel bad about myself, but I still like the email. But my favorite email, which I wonder if I'll get this year, because I've mentioned this before, is from ZocDoc. So last year or 2 years ago, a day after my birthday, I got an email, and I think that the subject line said, like, you're getting a year older. So I was like, And I clicked it and said, we didn't want to ruin your birthday yesterday, but we wanted to remind you that it's time to go get physical. And I thought that that was just smart and intelligent and nice. So I thought that was a good example.
That means you're getting it tomorrow.
I know, which is really, really sad.
Happy birthday again.
Thank you.